Hello guys and welcome to another video. I want to spend a few moments discussing the short-term slash midterm regulation issue that is hitting a lot of cities, especially larger cities in the country. And I want to explain how it can affect you whether you're in the short-term space or in the long or in the midterm space. So everyone seems to focus on how these regulations affect short-term rentals, and they are targeted towards short-term rentals. Most of the regulation require that you rent the unit out for 30 days or more in one stay. But this actually has a huge impact on the midterm rental. Now, luckily, only one of my properties has had that problem, but I operate pretty heavily in the midterm space. I purchase multifamily, furnish the units, and then rent them out on a midterm rental basis. So regulation comes in, the most common regulation, 30 days or more required for each reservation. Now, how exactly does that have an effect on the midterm space? Obviously, if you have a short-term rental, you have a choice. You can either start operating that short-term rental as a midterm rental or as a long-term rental. A lot of the short-term rental people go ahead and start operating as a midterm rental. So if you own a midterm rental in the space, your competition just went up like crazy. People have already furnished these units, and it is so easy for them to set the filter on only accept reservations for 30 days or more. So instantly, overnight, places like New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and many other municipalities, and now HOAs are doing it as well. So even HOAs in small pockets all over the country are requiring 30 days or longer stays. So all these short-term rentals are now doing midterm rentals. So competition is skyrocketing for these midterm rental stays in these markets. And the midterm rental space is not a large market. It's not compared to the short-term rental space and the long-term rental space. So if you suddenly have thousands of units in that market going from short-term rental to medium-term rentals, it really saturates the market pretty aggressively, pretty quickly. And it's not just when the rule comes into effect. A lot of people are worried the rule comes into effect. But the reality is a lot of municipalities will have the rule but won't enforce it unless somebody complains. If you have a neighbor that complains, there's new cars, there's too many people coming in and out, too many different people coming in and out, and then they complain to the municipality, and then that's when it'll be in effect. But some places are like, okay, we're giving out licenses and Airbnb is going to take down everyone. So once they actually start, having teeth, I think New York had the rule for a while, but they weren't really enforcing it until recently. So this legislation is bad for short-term rentals and midterm rentals. Now, for a minute, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Short-term rentals are not great for home prices. They raise home prices, which is good if you already own a home, bad if you're trying to buy a home. But the main point that I'm trying to get to, the whole point of this video is do not buy a short-term rental or a midterm rental, or do not buy a property and operate it as a short-term rental or a midterm rental unless the numbers also work as a long-term rental. This is why I like doing midterm rentals in multifamily rather than in single family, because in many single family homes, especially in more expensive markets, the numbers don't work as long-term rentals, where your mortgage, insurance, and taxes will actually be similar, if not more, to how much you'll make in the long-term space. Now, places like Florida, for example, so many investors went in there and started purchasing these single-family homes and operating them as short-term rentals, and they made a lot of money. But now that more legislation is coming in place, more rules are coming into place where they can't operate them as short-term rentals. they're faced with a tough choice. Do I operate this as a midterm rental? Do I operate this as a long-term rental? Now, midterm rental, they may likely still be making money, but everyone is now operating in this midterm rental space. You took thousands of short-term rental units, and now people don't want to have to get rid of the furniture, or they're not going to be positive in the long-term rental space. So they're stuck operating in this midterm rental space. Supply skyrockets, and as a result, prices are starting to have to come down because now visitors, guests have more options, so prices come down. So the moral of the story is if you're operating in the midterm rental or short-term rental space, or if you want to operate in the midterm rental or short-term rental space, there's a lot of money to be made, a lot. But please make sure that the property also works as a long-term rental. More and more municipalities are adopting this. Eventually, you may see it on the state level. So please be sure, underwrite short-term rental, midterm rental, long-term rental, so you have a real idea on what you can make. Also, be sure you're realistic with your underwriting. It's very hard to guess how much a short-term rental or a midterm rental will actually make. It's tough. Long-term rental, you'll find thousands of properties you can compare it to. But with short-term and medium-term rental, it's tougher because you have not just different properties, different property sizes, but now you also have different kinds of furnishing, and you also have different distances from hospitals and from attractions like amusement parks and things like that. So it's very hard to know how much you're going to be making on the revenue side from a short-term and medium-term rental. But a lot of people are now faced with foreclosure, or they're faced with negative cash flow where they're having to let go of these assets at a negative. And you may be thinking, oh, I'm in the middle of X, Y, and Z city, or I'm in the middle of X, Y, and Z state, and we haven't seen anything. Prepare yourself. More and more municipalities and small cities. At the beginning, it was just New York and LA and large cities, but now you're seeing even small cities and HOAs now, and communities are coming together and saying, we don't want short-term rentals. First of all, it artificially inflates prices, preventing new homeowners from home ownership. But it also, there's a ruckus. You have parties, you have unscrupulous people, you have the community may not want different people coming in and out, because eventually you're going to get people that are causing issues and noise. So watch your underwriting, and please ensure that the property works as a long-term rental before you purchase a property for midterm or short-term. Now, if you already own something and you're operating as a short-term rental and the numbers don't work as a long-term rental, you need to start thinking, okay, what is my solution in the event that the municipality does require me to rent it out for 30 days or more? Am I going to go midterm? You got to remember, midterm, competition gets aggressive because all those people, all the short-term rentals in your market flock to midterm. Maybe thinking, it's not here yet. I don't have any regulation yet, so I could sell the short-term asset with the short-term income now and be able to prevent a potential issue down the road. Always keep a close eye on the votes and the decisions your municipality, so you can start preparing yourself. If something's going to be on the ballot and things as such, you can start preparing yourself. Real estate is one of my favorite investment classes because you can mitigate risk through decisions. You have control over your investment, in which you can say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to prepare myself for the downturn. We've done it before. We had 2-bedroom apartments, didn't rent very well in the midterm rental space. I had a building, 6 units, renovated them, furnished them, started renting them out, all 2 bedrooms, started renting them out midterm, like I was doing with all my other multifamily. And the 2 bedrooms weren't doing well. particularly during the winter. Occupancy was taking a hit. But because the numbers work long term, it wasn't a big deal. I converted those midterm rentals to long term rentals and I charged a premium on the long term rentals. So market rent was 900, but I was able to rent it out at 1100. And that was $200 within 2 years. I'm going to have paid back for the furniture because of that $200 premium. So I was getting paid back for the furniture and it wasn't necessarily going to be a loss. But things like that, like being able to strategically think out your moves on what you're going to do to protect yourself, protect your investors if you have them, and to protect your wealth and your legacy. Keep investing, keep investing intelligently, grow your wealth. Thanks for joining me on another video, and I'll catch you on the next one.